Hello, YouTube. In 1976, a Soviet Tu-95 strategic bomber aircraft crashed into the Sea of Okhotsk, that's in the far east of the Soviet Union, with two nuclear bombs on board. According to one hypothesis, the lost samples of Soviet nuclear weapons ended up in the hands of Americans. Or did the USO operators interfere? Or something else? The Tu-95 turboprop bomber was developed by the Tupolev Design Bureau in 1952 as a carrier of strategic nuclear weapons. Serial production of aircraft began in 1955. The Americans gave the bomber the name Bear. It was not only powerful, but also the fastest aircraft with screw engines. Having overcome up to 12,000 kilometers, the Tu-95 could reach any point in the United States. Even with the advent of intercontinental ballistic missiles, strategic bombers were not scrapped into the upgraded version of the Tu-95. See, they're using the updated version even today, even the armed forces of the Russian Federation. However, as in the case of other carriers of nuclear weapons, the operation of the Tu-95 did not happen just without any emergencies. There were emergencies. The most famous incident occurred in 1976 in the Gulf of Terpenia, or Patience. The Tu-95M aircraft were put on combat duty in the skies of the Far East after the Americans lifted 18 B-52 bombers all together at once in 1969. It was called the Operation Giant Spear. According to another hypothesis, the USSR responded to the flights of Americans along the European coast. Soviet nuclear bombers regularly flew over the Pacific Ocean, from the Bering Strait to Sakhalin. The flights were made from the Chagan airfield in Kazakhstan. In February of 1976, one of the Tu-95 crashed and fell 12 kilometers off the coast of Sakhalin. There is no official information about the causes of the disaster or the fate of the crew, but most likely the pilots died. On the internet, you can find an unconfirmed hypothesis that the wing machine was operated by Major Maltsev. It is claimed that the search and rescue operations were carried out, but they were unsuccessful. And to cover up the true circumstances of the demise of aircraft number 5800205 in October of 1976, the Soviet military allegedly simulated its accident near Alma-Ata, which is in Central Asia in the USSR. So they had reasons to do it. Whether it's true or not, few people know about the circumstances of the tragedy in the Sea of Okhotsk. But those who do, that would be in the country's top leadership and the Air Force Command. Even the sailors of the Pacific Fleet were not informed, as evidenced by the memoirs of Rear Admiral Anatoly Shtyryov. Finding out the circumstances of the incident in 1976, Shtyryov contacted the headquarters of the Long Range Aviation. Is the lost airplane yours? Yes. Were there any redheads on board, meaning nuclear bombs? There were two. That's the response he got. The commander of the Pacific Fleet, Admiral Vladimir Maslov, did not take any measures, and the bomber aircraft remained lying on the bottom of the sea. In 2005, the fact of the crash of the nuclear Tu-95 was first told to the general public by the ex-Minister of Defense of Russia, Igor Rodionov. In 2013, this information was confirmed by the former director of Sakhalin Geo-Inform Vyacheslav Fedorchenko. Another person who knows about the submerged military aircraft with nuclear bombs on board is the environmental professor Alexei Yablokov. At the same time, the current military did not recognize the fact of the disaster. According to Boris Sukhinin, a journalist from the Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk, Defense Minister Anatoly Serdyukov stated that there have never been crashes of Tu-95 strategic bombers over the Sea of Okhotsk. Well, let's talk about the Operation Blue Sun. Another intrigue around the events of 1976 is connected with the participation of the sailors of the adversarial world power. The plot is described in the book by Evgeny Baikov and Grigory Zykov, Secrets of Underwater Espionage. Vladimir Bogdanov, the author of the Echo of the Planet magazine, gives some details of the events based on declassified American documents. At the time of the demise of the Tu-95 aircraft, the disappearance of one of the air targets was detected by the locators of the Japanese Sage air defense system on the island of Hokkaido. Naturally, the Japanese immediately passed this information to their allies from the United States. Then, in the depths of the Pentagon Intelligence Agency, an audacious plan matured to lift the fallen aircraft and take possession of the sample of Soviet nuclear weapons. The secret operation was called Blue Sun. In the spring of 1976, the Greyback submarine entered the Gulf of Patience with undercover equipment on board. The wreckage of the aircraft and both bombs were discovered at a depth of 40 meters. After some time, 10 experienced combat swimmers went down to the bottom. To protect against radiation, they put lead protection on top of their rubber suits. They were provided with more powerful, specially designed underwater tugboats with hydraulic lifting devices. According to the Russian authors, American submarines managed to lift bombs and possibly part of the aircraft equipment. For carrying out the operation, 67 people received medals. 3 of the submariners, Captain Michael Grant, Lieutenant Drew Wood, and Master Sergeant David Pearson, had to be treated for radiation sickness. There is no official confirmation that the bombs were purloined by the Americans. Therefore, the Sakhalin public is concerned about the proximity to a dangerous underwater object. In 2013 and 2017, deputies of the Sakhalin Regional Duma Parliament made requests demanding to raise the bomber. But the General Staff of the Russian Federation refers to the fact that the coordinates of the fallen Tu-95 are unknown. In 2017, as Novye Izvestia newspaper reported, the Pegasus search vessel of the Hydrographic Service of the Pacific Fleet was ready to move to the place of the demise of the Bear. But the expedition never took place. One can only guess why the Russian military has not done anything with the fallen aircraft for 46 years. I want to remind my audience that the Okhotsk Sea, is a hotbed of USO cases, unidentified submersible object. Please see the attached playlists of my videos about the USOs and UFOs there, and elsewhere in Russia and the former Soviet Union. In some reported cases, those UFOs, and as I infer, USOs, clean up the mess human beings have subjected the ecology of the Earth to. This could be such case, and the Russian military knows about it. And basically they don't care, because there is nothing to raise. There are many more things that really very few people in this world realize about the Far East, about the Arctic, and the guests that come to the skies and the waters of the seas and oceans there. So keep that in mind. Now, I will bring you more stories like this. If you like my research, please support me through PayPal, through Patreon. Please tell others about my channel. Please subscribe and like my videos. Thank you.